Welcome to part 3 of the Using Automatic Mode tutorial. Now let's look at using Auto-Tune's virtual keyboard and MIDI functions. Although they may seem intimidating at first, in reality they are very simple and quite easy to use. The keyboard at the bottom of the Auto-Tune interface displays Auto-Tune's pitch detection range, and it also acts as a real-time display of the currently detected pitch. It's also used as a display of the current scale settings and as a tool for setting target note behaviors in specific octaves. In other words, it does a lot. We'll come back to the keyboard in just a moment. Auto-Tune's MIDI features and functions found here utilize the virtual keyboard. When you engage the Learn Scale from MIDI button, it allows you to play the notes of the melody you wish to have Auto-Tune use for reference when retuning your performance. For example, let's listen to our performance as it originally is and take note of the virtual keyboard at the bottom of the interface as it tracks and shows the incoming pitches.
See how they run.
Now let's adjust the scale to better fit our needs. Let's make the passage into a nice normal major scale riff by clicking the Learn from MIDI Scale button, then pressing the All button for the octave setting so the notes we play will be applied to all octaves, instead of just the actual octave that we played in. Now create a MIDI track, and then set its output to this instance of Auto-Tune. Keep in mind, some host applications may not support routing MIDI data to a plugin, so check your user's manual for more info if needed. Now with the Learn from MIDI Scale button engaged, we'll play C, D, E, and F, which will enter those notes as the basis of the new scale. Now we click the Learn from MIDI Scale button again to take it out of Learn mode. Now let's play back the vocal track again.
See how they run.
Cool, if we weren't happy with the results, we can click the Learn from MIDI Scale button again and then enter in new notes if desired. Let's hear how that sounds.
See how they run.
Great! If you want to edit your new scale, you can simply click with your mouse on any key on the virtual keyboard. The Keyboard Edit Mode buttons here determine what happens when you click a key. If Remove is enabled and you click on a note, that note will be removed from the scale. You can also add any note to your scale by simply clicking it. The Bypass button works similarly. Let's say you have one or more specific notes that you want to preserve and not have Auto-Tune touch at all, meaning not to retune it to an exact pitch or to a surrounding pitch either. You could just engage Bypass mode, and any note you click on and set to bypass will pass through unaffected and not return to any surrounding notes. You could also use the feature in reverse. Let's say there's one bad note in the performance. You could set all the notes to bypass with the Bypass All button here, and then with the bypass mode engaged, click on the note or notes that you do want processed by Auto-Tune. The Set Major button is used to set the currently selected 12-note or greater scale to a major scale. The Set Minor button is used to set the currently selected 12-note or greater scale to a minor scale. This is handy when you need to edit an existing major or minor scale. Normally you would not be able to add extra notes when you have your scale set to major or minor. So just pick a chromatic scale and then click either the major or minor buttons, and the chromatic scale will be edited to produce either a major or minor scale. Now you can further edit and customize the scale by adding or removing notes. The Set All button when pressed enables all notes for processing. And the Remove All button does just the opposite and removes all notes, therefore no processing will occur. Again, to clarify, the difference between bypassing a note and removing it is a bypass note will not be returned and will be allowed to pass through unaffected. Removing a note will take the note out of the scale, and any material close to that pitch will now be returned to the nearest next pitch. Okay, let's look at the last MIDI feature, Target Notes via MIDI. When engaged, this feature allows you to play the notes that you want the singer to sing in real time. Since the data is being generated by the MIDI track, you can record the MIDI data just like any other MIDI notes and then edit and fine-tune them so they control auto-tune exactly as needed. Let's take a look. We'll use the same passage again and play a simple major scale riff in real time and record the MIDI data to a MIDI track.
See how they run.
Okay, now with that recorded, we can go in and edit them so they trigger auto-tune perfectly. You can shorten the notes or lengthen them so auto-tune retunes the passage just right.
See how they run.
We can even change the MIDI notes and change the note or notes that the singer sings.
See how they run.
Using auto-tune in this way is like having a virtual pitch tuning rack device that's always processing your material in real time. It's pretty cool. Finally, if your host application doesn't pass MIDI data to plugins, or you don't have a MIDI keyboard controller available, you can use the virtual keyboard to set the notes in real time. Just disengage the target notes via MIDI option and engage the momentary button. Now when your material comes into auto-tune, you can click any note and hold it for as long as you need the incoming material to stay on that note. You can play this keyboard and control auto-tune just like we did with the real MIDI controller in the previous example. Well, that's it. Now you know all about auto-tune's amazing automatic mode and its features and functions, as well as how to use them. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the tutorials.